Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Faith Grant, and I'm the Collective Impact Officer with the Miami Foundation. Thank you again for joining us. So, the forum tonight will be hosted in English with Spanish and Haitian Creole and American Sign Language interpretation available. If you would like to enable your interpretation, you can go to the bottom of your screen and press the globe icon to choose the language you desire. This will now be translated in Spanish and Haitian Creole.
Buenas noches a todas y todos. Recuerden que este foro va a estar en español con interpretación, va a ser en inglés con interpretación en español, en criol haitiano y también lenguaje de señas americano. Entonces, si usted quiere escuchar este foro en español, haga clic en el globo de interpretación en la parte inferior derecha de su pantalla, elija el idioma que desea escuchar, en este caso español, y le pedimos que también silencie el audio original. Si está conectado a Zoom desde su teléfono, toque los tres puntos de la esquina inferior derecha, donde dice más, elija interpretación de idiomas, elija en este caso español y recuerde dar hecho o tocar en hecho. Y recuerde también silenciar el audio original. Ahora le doy la palabra a mi compañera en criol.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Forum SAP est diffusé en trois langues, en anglais, créole et espagnol. Donc, la fête en anglais et puis il y a bien interprétation en créole haïtien avec en espagnol. Donc, mando, si t'en prie, ou regarder sur ordinateur ou regarder en bas à droite, ou après globe terrestre là qui dit interprétation, ou cliquer sur lui, ou choisir créole haïtien. Et puis ça, et mettez audio original là sous silence, une façon pour capable tendre clair, ça cap dit en créole dans l'espace là. Donc, et soit attendez sur un téléphone intelligent, vous regardez en bas à droite, ou après trois petits points qui dit plus, ou cliquer sur eux, la météo dans et interprétation, ou choisir créole haïtien, et puis ça, ou prêter dans langue, pour arrêter dans l'interprétation, cliquer fini en haut à droite, l'on fini en façon pour arrêter dans le canal haïtien. Donc, nous devons faire ça, fait ça qu'on est là de façon pour participer et puis tendez en créole haïtien. Merci et puis bonne participation. Thank you and over.
Good evening, Miami. I want to thank all of you who are tuning into this conversation, the people in the live audience, everyone watching this on our website, listening in during your drive home or at a watch party. Speaking of which, I want to give a big shout out to everyone at the Clio Institute, especially the incredible Glenn Clio Action, who are hosting a live watch party filled with students from our local colleges and universities tonight. Each of you that are here with us today are the best kind of civically engaged locals. You care about Miami. You understand the power of local elections. You choose to be informed and engaged, and this year, Miami will feel your presence. My name is Nikisha Williams. I'm the Vice President of Collective Impact at the Miami Foundation. At our foundation, we envision a greater Miami where everyone thrives. Having great elected leaders is a big part of that. We've hosted forums throughout this month to help you get to know the candidates that are striving to lead the place we call home. If you missed any of the forums, you can check them out at our website, votemiami.org. And I hope you'll join us for the mayoral and sheriff forums in October. But tonight, we are excited to focus on the commissioner race from District 11. Commissioners play a huge role in the way we live and thrive in our communities. They create, amend, and pass local laws, manage and vote on budgets. They influence the way land is utilized, and frankly, their decision can affect various aspects of county life, including transportation, housing, public safety, economic development, and environmental protection. Most importantly, commissioners represent and serve as a direct link between residents and the county. So, before passing the floor to our moderator, evenings like this only happen because of deep partnerships. So I want to thank AARP Florida, IET Community Trust, Catalyst Miami, Clio Institute, Disability Independence Group, Engage Miami, Radical Partners, Transit Alliance, the League of Women Voters, and United Way. Lastly, I would like to remind our viewers that tonight's conversation is not a debate. It is a forum. We're here to hear our candidates' ideas and uplift their leadership. These forums are not about parties, they're about our Miami. It is now my pleasure to introduce this evening's moderator, the amazing Liz Rebecca Alarcón, founder of Project Pulso.
Hola, bienvenida, and welcome everyone. I'm Liz Rebecca Alarcón, as Nikisha just said, and as a deep lover of democracy and a deep devotee to everything that improves this county, I am so delighted to be moderating this forum tonight. We'd like to welcome the candidates for Miami-Dade County Board of County Commission District 11, as you've been hearing, which covers the West Kendall community. So welcome again to Commissioner Roberto Gonzalez and candidate Brian Paz Hernandez to our Miami The People's Forum. To everyone who's logged on, thank you so much for joining us. Our goal is to help you get to cast the most informed vote possible as you get to know these candidates and all the candidates throughout the rest of the forum. They will be talking about the issues that affect us all in our everyday life in our Miami-Dade County. Some of the questions that I will be asking the candidates tonight were fielded from our nonprofit partners who Nikisha mentioned here at the beginning of our forum. Some of them have been drafted by me, and of course, we will make sure we make enough time for you all to answer your questions as you hear from the candidates. Before we begin, I also have some ground rules for you all, so I'm going to be reading them here so we make sure we set the stage for what will be a lively and civic discussion. Here we go. 1, we want to create a space of belonging and inclusivity of all viewpoints, whether we agree or not. We urge our candidates to extend respect to each other. As we've been saying, this is not a debate, but rather a forum. So personal attacks, insults of any form, or any sort of disrespectful behavior will not be tolerated. Number 2, the speaking order will be in alphabetical order. And so each candidate will have equal opportunities to speak. Number 3, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer questions, and they will be able to respond directly to that question. If a rebuttal is needed, we'll give 30 seconds for that. We have a timer here at the top right of the screen so that we can keep track of time and make sure that answers are concise, that we can hear from each candidate, and of course, get to all of the questions. Number 4, candidates, please wait for your turn to speak. Interrupting each other is not allowed either. Number 5, the moderator, that's me, reserves the right to mute a candidate's microphone if you all exceed your time limit or if you all violate any of these rules. Do you all have any questions about this so far?
No questions.
All right, it sounds like we're aligned, so we will go ahead and begin. We're going to open with each candidate providing 1.5 minutes of opening statements to share why you were running and what are your top priorities if you were to be elected to the role. So Commissioner Gonzalez, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. So my name is Roberto Gonzalez. I am from Guatemala, and my parents and I immigrated to this country when I was 3 years old. The reason that I am in this race and in this position is because, to be honest with you, I love this country and I love all the opportunities that have been provided for me. And with that being said, there are many things that we can do on a governmental level, on a policy level, that can help others get to the next level. And I think that that's really what America is all about. That's why I appreciate being here today. Aside from that, I feel like there's fundamental things that need to be done on a local level, because the point of local government is to make residents' lives better. Pick up the trash on time. Make sure that your roads are safe for people to drive on. Give the people in your district the best possible parks. And let me tell you, you can't fool me because I grew up in this area. You give me good parks, I'll show you how you reduce crime. Aside from that, you want public safety, and you want to make sure that people have the ability to have a good economic position. Make it so that people can go out there, make a living, and live the best possible life they can. That's why I'm in this race. That's why I'm here.
Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. Candidate Paz Hernandez, you have the floor.
Well, first off, I want to thank the Miami Foundation and all the partners, including Catalyst Miami, United Way, for hosting this candidate forum for District 11. So thank you very much for making this tonight happen. I am running because I'm sick and tired of the traffic congestion. I'm sick and tired of the overdevelopment of apartment complexes in Kendall and in District 11. And I'm really sick and tired of the high cost of living. We're seeing, property taxes are really high, property insurance costs are really high. We also are seeing political corruption left and right go without being stopped. And so I'm a normal guy. I'm a high school teacher. I teach 9th grade world history at a high school, and I've never run for office before. This is my first time running, and I decided to run because of the reasons I stated before. I have the experience that it takes to get elected commissioner. I've worked at United Way Miami as a financial coach, and I've worked at Catalyst Miami as a South Dade community organizer. So I'm very familiar with the work that a lot of these nonprofits on this call have done. I've spent so many years organizing people, trying to get them to focus and care about the issues that matter to them. So as county commissioner, I'll work really hard to make Miami-Dade more affordable and expand public transit in order to reduce traffic congestion. Thank you.
Thank you both. Given that there's only 2 candidates on this forum, we're going to switch up the rules a little bit, but I think you all are going to like this adjustment. Instead of 1 minute to answer each question, you all will each have 1.5 minutes, just like you did now for your opening statements. And instead of always starting with you, Commissioner Gonzalez, even if it's alphabetical order, we'll switch off. First, we'll start with you, then with you, candidate Paz Hernandez, and that'll make for a more equitable experience. All right, thank you all for rolling with us as we adjust in real time. Now let's go on to our first question. Candidate Paz Hernandez and Commissioner Gonzalez, what is the biggest challenge facing District 11 right now, and what do you plan to do to solve it? Candidate Paz Hernandez, we'll start with you.
I think the biggest challenge is the high cost of living, 100%. Where as county commissioner, I'll fight to cut property taxes. I'll fight to work with Tallahassee and Washington, D.C. to reduce our property insurance costs that are crushing middle-class families. And I also will work really hard to just see whatever public policy I can advocate for that will make life more affordable. We have so many folks in their 20s and 30s that are leaving Miami-Dade County because it's just gotten so expensive. That's unacceptable to me. I was born and raised here in Miami. And it didn't used to be this expensive. It is truly getting very rich and very expensive, and it's becoming a city almost for the rich by the rich. And so I really want to make sure that it is affordable for everybody, including for our seniors, including for middle-class families. The way I want to reduce property insurance costs is I will start a new program at the county level. I'm going to call it Resiliency Miami. And I'll make sure that county funds are used to financially incentivize homeowners so that they can do resiliency upgrades. I'm talking hurricane-resistant windows. I'm talking reinforcing their roofs. And with county funds, we can make it easier for people to do that. Then the homeowner can call their property insurance company and say, hey, I just did this amazing upgrade on my house. Can you reduce my property insurance costs? And it's very likely that they will. So overall affordability is the main concern here.
Thank you, candidate Paz Hernandez. Commissioner Gonzalez, on to you.
Hey, Liz, the commissioner, I believe, has logged off. Might be due to some issues with the phone. I would suggest that we can move on to the next question until he logs back on.
All right, next question up for you, candidate Paz Hernandez. How would you prioritize the county budget? You mentioned a bit of this already. And what areas would you focus on increasing or decreasing funding were you to be elected?
Yes, I love that question. So I do want to cut property taxes, and that means that there would be less money going into the budget. I believe that the money is better spent with the people and keeping that money in their pockets. However, certainly there are a lot of things at the county level that we want to deal with. Number one, I want to have a bus rapid transit system where we create a new additional lane, for buses, and the bus would be able to use that lane and get people where they have to be quicker. I also want to use county funds to help support our police officers, our firefighters, make sure that they have all the resources that they need to do their job. They keep our community safe, and I want to make sure that they have everything they need. In fact, I want to provide funding for mental health resources for our first responders. I want to provide funding for better training, especially as it relates to residents who have mental health challenges, and how can we make sure that the police know how to deal with folks who are mentally ill. I do want to cut some spending on some areas. I do believe that there's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse at the county level. We see so many times that government contracts are given to people in a really unfair way. One thing that commissioners do is that they have a personal driver and an Escalade. I don't think that's fair. If I'm elected commissioner, I'll drive myself, and yeah, leave it there.
Thank you, candidate. Welcome back, Commissioner Gonzalez. I'll repeat the question that we just asked candidate Paz Hernandez. The question was, how would you prioritize the county budget, and where would you increase spending or decrease spending were you to continue in this role?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I've worked on the budget. I worked on the budget last year, and I'm working on the budget currently with the mayor. As a matter of fact, I'm the only county commissioner that has a monthly standing meeting with the mayor where we go over the budget. To be quite honest with you, right now, we have to be fiscally responsible. The primary reason why we have to be fiscally responsible is because the cost of living is way too high. There are many things that we are doing as a commission to give folks the opportunity to afford not only living here, but to provide the economic resources that they need in order to have that money in their pocket. But aside from that, we need to make sure that we don't increase fees or costs. That's why just about a week ago, I voted against an increase in putting up our fees for our trash. Folks in the middle class and in the lower middle class and all across Miami-Dade County simply cannot afford to keep bearing the grunt of misspending. There is misspending, and I've gone through the entire budget. I continue to go through the budget to actually find where we can cut. As a matter of fact, just last year, after having a conversation with the mayor, she was able to give back to our seniors, some of our most vulnerable, $500 from the budget. How? By cutting costs and being efficient. After I had conversations with the mayor, she actually hired Clara Denise, who is our new CFO. What does she do? She finds efficiencies in the budget. I'm going to continue to do that because I feel like what we need to do is stop increasing spending and try to help folks keep the money in their pockets.
Staying on this theme of accessibility, here's the next question, and we'll start with you. Can you outline your strategies on how you would make housing more accessible and affordable, particularly for low-income families in your district?
Well, I mean, I think that's a great question. Let me tell you, we have many projects all throughout Miami-Dade County. But more important than that, right now, we have a lot of resources. As a matter of fact, if you look into my office, 50% of my office actually comes from the housing department. Yeah, that's right. Half of my office are people that I found in the housing department that have come into my office and brought all those resources. Why? A lot of times what happens is that these resources, although they are countywide, they don't get attributed to every district. My office is not only helping folks in this district with a lot of these grants and a lot of these projects that will help them afford their homes, but aside from that, I am having the housing department, along with many other organizations, come to my office and hold forums and town halls so that they can help folks best. As a matter of fact, after speaking to the mayor, we actually had the ISD department, and we actually have presence within our district that helps folks with affordable housing, helps folks get the proper housing that they need. On the county commission, I've been a champion helping the Homeless Trust, and I've been a champion helping as many projects as we can to get workforce housing. As a matter of fact, I've championed with Catherine Fernandez Rundle to get more housing for prosecutors and for state attorneys, along with corrections officers. We need to make housing more affordable, and I'm doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Same question for you, candidate Paz Hernandez.
Thank you. I know you said this is not a debate, and I'm saying this as respectful as possible, but I think the commissioner's record on housing is not good. He's been commissioner for 2 years, and it continues to be very expensive to live here in Miami-Dade County. So that's really the best way to measure an incumbent. I have a record on affordable housing that is extraordinary. When I worked at United Way Miami as a financial coach, I worked diligently to make sure that anybody who came to the office at United Way was given assistance. We had so many, I worked there in 22, and so many people would come to United Way saying, hey, I've just been evicted, or I'm facing eviction. My landlord just raised rent by $500. And it is really upset. It was so upsetting to hear those stories. And we heard that story over and over and over again. So as a financial coach, I worked really hard to make sure that the nonprofit provided people the funding so that they can pay for their rents, pay for other bills that they needed to have covered. And I helped in that position dozens and dozens of Miami-Dade residents. And in fact, that's one of the reasons I decided to run, because I saw that there was so much need. Listen, as commissioner, I'll fight for mandatory inclusionary zoning, which means that all new development in Dade County has to have 10% or more of those houses, those apartment units, be affordable. My opponent is not for that because he's mostly funded by real estate developers.
Your time has elapsed. Commissioner Gonzalez, I'll give you 30 seconds for a rebuttal.
So a lot of the things that he's talking about regarding helping folks are things that Miami-Dade County does. As a matter of fact, the folks that are in my office are the ones that were helping not only the United Way, but many other organizations. The county commission is funding a lot of these organizations in order to make it better for folks to be able to live here. And guess what? The housing department is the one that helps these folks. They've helped folks since COVID, and they continue to help folks, and they will continue to help folks. That's exactly why I brought them into my office. We want to bring those resources right here to District 11 because it's been overlooked for a very long time.
Thank you both.
Can I have a 30-second rebuttal, please?
We're going to move on to the next question. Let's go on to a topic that I know is at the top of mind of so many county residents, and that is the state of our climate. So the first question on this topic for you all is, how would you all balance urban development with the preservation of green spaces in District 11? Candidate Paz Hernandez, we'll start with you.
I want to take some of my time just to address the previous question. So I think that it's great that Commissioner Gonzalez has used resources from the county to support District 11 residents. I think that's a beautiful thing. That's a wonderful thing. I'm glad that he's doing that. But fundamentally, what's going to help people get housing in Dade County is not these Band-Aid solutions of paying their bill for 1 month. It's about enforcing and making sure that developers have a percentage of their housing be affordable. And as long as he continues to accept donations from real estate developers, that's not going to happen. To answer the question about climate change, I'm the only candidate here that has received the endorsement of the Sierra Club. And I have so many people who are my awesome volunteer team that are very active with the Sierra Club. And so I am against moving the urban development boundary. I am against the Kendall Expressway or the Kendall Parkway because it absolutely will wreak havoc on the Everglades. And I am 100% in favor of bold action on climate change. I want to use county funds to incentivize green energy development. I want to use county funds to update our water infrastructure so that we're prepared for rising sea levels and stronger hurricanes, which we're already seeing that. And that is going to require millions of dollars of investments to make sure that Dade County is ready, because right now we're not ready. Listen, I'm 29 years old. I'm going to be living with climate change for a long time, and we got to prepare for it.
Commissioner Gonzalez, on to you. Same question.
So respectfully to this gentleman, the amount of spending that he's talking about is exactly what's gotten us into the position that we're in right now. The county continues to just throw a lot of money away. Now, don't get me wrong. I've worked with the mayor, and I've seen how the mayor has brought the electric buses and a lot of great initiatives that are helping the county. But at the same time, we need to prioritize on making sure that our economic development stays within, and that we use that economic development for services for residents. So how do we do that, balancing the climate change, and how do we do that also providing green spaces? Well, just take a look at our parks. Our parks here in District 11 need some work. As a matter of fact, I've allocated about $125 million in order to start renovating our parks. I've already renovated Westwind Lakes Park. I've already began to renovate plans for Tamiami Park. This is important on many levels. The first level is, number one, we have more green spaces, and we need more green spaces, but we have the attention that these green spaces deserves. It's not enough to just say, hey, this is a park, and let it go to crap. You have to maintain the park, and you have to be able to make sure that that park is acceptable and good for everybody that lives in the area. Unfortunately, for many years, we've been overlooked on this side of Miami-Dade County. I am now here, and I am fighting for the renovation of all of these parks, all of these green spaces, and opening them up for our residents.
Thank you both. I want to give a reminder here of the rules for this question. I allowed a back and forth, but I want to remind you both that if you do not have the mic open for a rebuttal, then we are to move on to the question asked and the new topic at hand. In the future, if what just happened happens again, we will mute you all while you are responding and make sure that we do stay on topic. Thank you all very much. I also want to take this opportunity to point out that Faith wrote here in the chat to all of you that if you have any questions, please go ahead and use the Q&A function. We do want to make sure that we get to all of your questions as well. And so as you think of them, please share them so that we can ask the candidates very soon. All right, on to the next topic. Let's talk about jobs. We know that Miami-Dade County is an entrepreneurial county, and that small businesses are the lifeblood of our community. What would you all do to incentivize and support small business owners in District 11? Commissioner Gonzalez, we'll start with you.
All right, let's start with our mom and pop grant. When I first got to this district, the mom and pop grant had unfortunately given about 30-something grants to small businesses. Unacceptable. The reason that people weren't getting these grants is because they simply didn't know about it. As soon as I got into office, I started a campaign. I started reaching out to all the small businesses in the community to make sure that they knew that these grants exist. I also developed a liaison within my office that deals directly with small businesses. So what do? I go out to these businesses, I promote them. Small businesses are literally the backbone of our community. So with the mom and pop grant, with the liaison that's reaching out to these businesses, this year we quadrupled the amount of people that applied for the mom and pop grant. But we didn't stop there, because we need more work and play on this side of town. Now, the District 11 is a great place to live, but there's nothing to do. We need to incentivize these businesses to come down here. We need to incentivize businesses to actually set up shop here. The more that we can get businesses down here, the more connectivity we will have within the entire county. The easier it will be to provide public transportation. Nobody wants to sit on a bus for 90 minutes. By the way, I did it from 147th all the way to downtown. The reason being is because there's no connectivity. We need more bus routes. Conversations I've had with the mayor many times. The way that we're going to do that is by bringing more work and play to District 11. There is a lot of housing out here. We don't need to expand the UDB. What we need is connectivity.
So I want to work to expand job opportunities in District 11 110%. We want to make sure that the folks in District 11 are able to work in District 11. One of the ways that we can actually reduce traffic congestion is by making sure that more people don't have to commute northbound, and they can stay in District 11 and work. So I will work really hard to find ways to incentivize companies to open up new offices in District 11, to even start new businesses in District 11. So I will make sure the county has all the funding it needs to support small businesses, provide small business loans, and also encourage entrepreneurship. I think that's a great thing. What I don't want to see is people having to continue to travel northbound to have to get to their job. I think another thing that's important to note is that I want to create jobs, but I also want to create good paying jobs, high paying jobs that allow people to actually sustain themselves and their families. You know, a lot of politicians run on, oh, jobs, jobs, jobs. But it's not that difficult to create jobs that are low paying, that are jobs that keep you in poverty. And, you know, so many people that I've talked to while I've knocked on over 4,000 doors in this district has been that their budgets are really tight. Their income is not enough for the high cost of living. That should not happen in the richest nation on earth.
Thank you both. Let's move on to another topic that you both touched on, transportation. We know that mobility is a huge concern for county residents. We'll start with you, candidate Paz Hernandez. What are your plans to increase access to public transportation in District 11?
I am the Metro Rail candidate. I am the only person in this race who wants to extend the Metro Rail to West Kendall. I would like to have a stop at FIU and a stop at Miami-Dade College Kendall campus. I've spoken to civil engineers, and this is possible. And this idea has won me the endorsement of the Kendall Federation, PAC, and the Sierra Club, because they've been asking for public transit extensions for a very long time. My opponent wants to extend the 836, have the Kendall Parkway, which goes against the standards of environmentalism. How are you going to build a highway next to the Everglades? That doesn't make any sense. You can have all the parks in the world, but if you don't have if you have a big ugly highway, it's not going to count for much. I want to extend the Metro Rail. I also want to have the bus rapid transit system where it's an additional new lane where you just have buses. That can be done in 5 years. The Metro Rail would take a long time. I think it would take 10 or more years to build. And the way that the county can finance it is by asking the federal government for funding. Under the current administration, they passed infrastructure monies into law, and also GMX is by law supposed to use a percentage of its funding for public transit. So I will lobby the governor and the GMX to make sure that some of that money is used for Metro Rail extension and BRT.
Thank you, candidate Paz Hernandez. On to you, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you so much. With all due respect, I'm sick and tired of politicians talking about the Metro Rail. This is something that was promised by Alex Penelas over 30 years ago. Aside from that, it was also something that was worked on by Hialeah Mayor Bovo before he ran for mayor. This is something that simply is not going to happen at this point in time because of the amount of money that needs to be spent on getting this done. In order to get federal funding, you need to implement local funding and state funding first, and then the feds will get involved. But aside from that, let's talk about how we can expand public transportation. The best way to do this is, as I said before, we need to create live, work, and play in District 11, as is done in Chicago, as is done in New York, as is done in Spain. We need to create nodes that are connected. More live, work, and play right here. We have plenty of live in District 11. We need more work and play. We need to make it so that folks can live here and work here and play here so that connectivity can happen. I am not going to take a bus to this gentleman's home. It's just not going to happen. Aside from that, it is imperative that we stop requiring people to take buses for 90 minutes just to get from one point to another. We need traffic to start coming from the east to the west. The only way we can do that is by building the infrastructure necessary for that connectivity. I'll give you a perfect example. Look at a place like Doral. Doral is a place where you can walk to places. Coral Gables is a place where you can walk to places. Unfortunately, in the past, those decisions and that infrastructure wasn't made here.
Thank you to the music and to you both for your answers. Just one more question from me, and then I'm going to head into the chat where attendees have sent many, many questions your way. So last question for me is, how do you all plan to ensure transparency and accountability in the commission's decision-making process? Commissioner Gonzalez, we'll start with you.
I'll give you a perfect example. My office, first off, when I first got here, there was an office on there was an office on 152nd Avenue. It was a tiny office. And the worst thing about the office is that it had a lock with a camera to make sure that people couldn't come in. And you didn't have to open the door if you saw who was there. They had no lobby. The lobby was tiny, tiny, tiny. So it didn't invite people in. Aside from that, it had a back door. That office was taken over by the mayor and actually is something that ISD is using to bring public resources to the community. I now have an office on 127th and Bird. It is clear. It is big. The reason it is big is because I am bringing services down from downtown to Miami-Dade County right here, increasing transparency by having folks come to the office every single day. And you know what? It's amazing when I knock on doors because people already know me. They know who I am. My team and I have knocked on over 30,000 doors. I've knocked on 1,800 doors myself. That's how I got in this race. I actually had people sign petitions so that I can run for county commission, which is something that I am humbled by because people here are very, very happy. The reason they're happy is because they can reach me through Instagram, through Facebook, through text message. They can call my office anytime. You increase transparency by bringing government to people's doors. I've been doing that since I got here, and the community will tell you that.
Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. On to you, candidate Paz Hernandez.
I think transparency is very important. And one of the reasons I'm running is because as the District 11 resident, I was very unhappy with Commissioner Gonzalez's time in office. I do believe that his practices have been very untransparent. And I'm glad that he brought up the district office. $486,000 for the new office. Over the course of 9 years, it will cost $1 million to taxpayers. This is a 3-year lease with two 3-year options, and over the course of 9 years, it will cost $1 million. I think this was a terrible use of money. With $1 million, we could be helping seniors get health care. With $1 million, we can help put in the money for extending the public transit. With $1 million, we can support our police officers. So this move was totally unnecessary. I went to the district office myself that Mr. Martinez used to have. It was perfectly fine, and it worked just fine. There's nothing wrong with it at all. As county commissioner, I will make sure, and I will fight for ethics reforms to make sure that all personal conflicts of interest are disclosed to the public. One thing that I'm sure everyone on this call knows is that the county does a lot of business with different businesses. And oftentimes there can be a situation where the commissioner or somebody in the government can have personal financial gain from the contractors that they do business with. And we got to make sure people know about that.
Thank you both. I'm going to head into the Q&A, and here's the first question from Danielle Rivera. She asks, do the candidates support a campaign finance law that would prohibit real estate developers, county contractors, and lobbyists from donating to county candidates and their associated PCs/ECOs? Candidate Paz Hernandez, we'll start with you.
10,000%. Yes, that is actually, it's literally in my yard sign. I mean, not my yard sign, my door hanger. Campaign finance reform is one of the best things we can do to prevent corruption. This is my first time running, and I've learned so much as a first-time candidate. And what I learned is that it is truly the Wild West. Any millionaire, billionaire, or a company can give all the money that they ever want to the PAC of a candidate, and that money is can be used to support or not support a candidate. And so I will support campaign finance reform so that special interests don't have a louder voice than you, the people. In the interest of transparency and to answer this question, I do encourage everybody watching to go to my opponent's campaign finance records of his PAC, America First PAC, and also of his campaign. And you'll see that he received $15,000 from Big Easy Casino in Holliday Beach, $21,000 from a secure wrap company. And it's important to know why donations were given to certain candidates. And I'd be happy to answer the same questions about any of my donations.
On to you, Commissioner Gonzalez.
I would absolutely, positively be behind something like that. As a matter of fact, I think it needs to happen on every level of government. As a matter of fact, we should ban trading at the level of Congress, but at the county commission, for sure, this should happen. As a matter of fact, when I first ran for office, I raised $100,000 in $10 checks, $100 checks, $15 checks. That's how I did it the first time. Now, let me tell you, contributions at this point are legal and they are done. And a lot of these companies that this poor gentleman is talking about have contributed to the mayor, have contributed to every single commissioner on that dais. Now, let me be clear. Every single one of those donors understands that, to me, their contribution means nothing but the fact that they get to speak to me. That's it. I listen to every single person, whether they donate to me or not. But I will say this, because they're illegal right now, there's two things that means. When you get these contributions, you have influence and you have support. Unfortunately, the gentleman that is running against me does not have either. I have that. I have that because I've delivered results for District 11. I have that because, frankly, I am going to win this race. I've already knocked on 30,000 plus doors. We're doing tremendously, and we will continue to raise money because people know that I am the current county commissioner and I am the future county commissioner, and I am going to make District 11 the best place to live in all of Miami-Dade County. I've already started.
Thank you both. I'm going to move on to another question from folks here in the chat. They're asking, what will you do to ensure the Kendall Parkway is built quickly in order to provide congestion relief, multimodal options, and a 14-mile nature trail? They say the people of West Dade need relief quickly. Commissioner Gonzalez, we'll start with you.
This is something that I've already worked on. I've gone to Tallahassee. I've talked to a lot of folks up there, including the incoming speaker, Danny Perez. I can tell you that there are already studies and folks are already working on ways to make this not only environmentally friendly, but do it in a way that is cost efficient and helps the people of West Kendall. I've knocked on thousands of doors. Like I said, my team has knocked on over 30,000 doors. And I'm going to tell you right now that most people that I speak to are telling me that we need that connection, and that connection is coming, but it needs to come in a way that does not affect the environment. It needs to come in a way that is good, not only for transportation, but that is also good for our environment. That's something that is happening. Funding is already being put together, and I'm happy to say that this is something that's going to happen.
Can the question please be repeated? I missed a portion of it.
Sure. The question is, what will you do to ensure the Kendall Parkway is built quickly in order to provide congestion relief, multimodal options, and a 14-mile nature trail? They say the people of West Dade need relief quickly.
I agree. The people of West Dade do need relief quickly, but I am against the Kendall Parkway. And let me tell you why. The idea that it will reduce traffic congestion is just false. It is as false as Santa Claus comes every Christmas and drops presents. Study after study after study by people who study traffic congestion in the United States have concluded that when you build more highways and more roads, traffic congestion gets worse. It's called induced demand, the phenomenon of induced demand. The best way to reduce traffic congestion is by making public transit an affordable, accessible, and highly attractive option to people. And so I will fight, and I want to be known as the commissioner who got the Metro Rail extended to West Kendall. I've lived here my entire life, and I would love to see that happen. I will bring the Metro Rail over here. That will actually reduce public traffic congestion, and also the BRT will provide relief probably within 5 years. So that's actually a far easier way to reduce traffic congestion. We want to believe that this is an easy solution. Just build a highway and boom, it's gone. No, that means more cars on the road, and that's not going to be the solution. I also want to say that one of the things that we can do to reduce traffic is by stopping overdevelopment of apartment complexes that are making Kendall very, very dense.
Thank you both. On to another question from an anonymous attendee. They ask, we are living in a divisive time where we are seeing decreasing efforts by our political representatives to reach compromise, to understand each other's perspectives, and to unite people. How will you help change this trend when you are in office? How will you reach a compromise with those who have ideas that differ from you? Candidate Paz Hernandez, we'll start with you.
Thank you very much. I am the best candidate for this because I am the only registered independent in this election. My opponent has posted extremely partisan things online that have turned off hundreds of thousands of Miami-Dade residents. I want to work with everybody to make sure that we stop the overdevelopment of apartment complexes, to extend the metro and the bus rapid transit, to cut property taxes and reduce property insurance costs. Those are big ideas. But I know how to get things done. When I worked at United Way, making sure that people got their money to help them out. When I worked at Catalyst Miami, I led a project to help over 60 local farm workers get sunscreen and other things that they needed in order to do their jobs in a way that was easy on their budgets. And so I have a record of getting things done in the nonprofit sector. And as a high school teacher, I'll tell you, teaching is a really hard job, and I know how to get things done. So I will work with Governor DeSantis. I will work with the mayor. I will work with the other commissioners, and do whatever is necessary to deliver results for Kendall. And I think that it will be possible because I am coming from a place of wanting to solve problems and actually deliver for people.
Commissioner Gonzalez, on to you.
I've been in office already. This is something that I'm already doing. As a matter of fact, my best friend on the county commission is Keone McGee, who is a Democrat and is my neighboring commissioner. I am endorsed by Keone McGee. I'm endorsed by the SEI. I am actually an employment attorney, so I am endorsed by the SEI. I'm endorsed by both Republicans and Democrats. I'm endorsed by the police union, the PBA, the FOP. I'm also endorsed by the firefighters union. I have been working with both Republicans and Democrats since I got here. As a matter of fact, I am the only sitting county commissioner as a Republican that has monthly meetings with the mayor. We sit down and we talk. Sometimes we talk for 30 minutes. Sometimes we talk for hours, but we talk things through. Every single time I sit with any of my colleagues or any resident,
We'll give him a couple of seconds to log back on. If not, we'll go on to the last question.
Liz, while we wait for the commissioner to return, I just want to remind our audience that we do have the reaction function available, but we want to remind you to use that respectfully. Again, this conversation is about the betterment of our community, so we do not recommend any heckling. Please, again, this is a discussion about our Miami. It's not specific to the candidates. Thank you so much.
I think we should continue. We wait for the Gonzalez. This may eat up into our time, and the people are here to listen to both candidates.
I'm going on to the final question here in the Q&A. Michael Rosenberg has a straightforward question for you all. He asks, how will you help us fight those 5G towers? Candidate Paz Hernandez, I'll pass it to you.
It's a short question, to the point. Hey, Michael, nice to hear from you. Listen, I am 100% against the 5G towers that have been springing up across Kendall. The company called Crown Castle has been, without the consent of the residents, establishing these ugly, very tall, gray 5G telecommunications towers. And there's a concern that it will reduce people's property values, which we do not want to have. There's a concern that it may cause health problems, and I know there's a debate of yes or no, but I think the science is not settled, and there should be more research into health outcomes before such a thing is established in people's neighborhoods. If it's okay with Crown Castle and they continue to say, oh yeah, there's no evidence it causes cancer, then I would love to see the 5G towers next to the CEO, the home of the CEO of Crown Castle, if it really is not such a big problem. And lastly, the fact is there was no community input. People did not ask or approve having these 5G towers in the suburbs. Unlike my opponent, I was born and raised in this community, and I know what Kendall is supposed to look like. It's a nice, relaxed, beautiful area to live in. And by having these 5G towers there, it really changes the character of the community.
Thank you, Candidate Paz Hernandez. We see that Commissioner Gonzalez still has not been able to return. We hope that he will be able to for closing remarks. At this point, we are closing out our forum and are now going to open it up to each candidate to be able to give closing remarks. You'll each have a minute and a half to summarize your key points and any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience tuning in now or who may tune in later. Candidate Paz Hernandez, I pass it to you.
Thank you so much. And thank you again for Miami Foundation for hosting this. Well, there's very few organizations that take the time to give the candidates for local office an opportunity to discuss these important issues. So thank you again for hosting this. I deeply appreciate it. I am not a politician. I'm a high school history teacher. I'm just like you. I decided that time is up. We need to have real changes in Dade County. It's becoming too expensive to live here. Traffic congestion is getting worse. And I know this because I've lived in our community my entire life, and I know what it used to be like. Traffic has always been bad, but it's gotten worse. And ever since after the COVID pandemic, Miami-Dade has become grossly inaccessible. So I am the very antithesis of my opponent. I do not take money from special interests. I'm actually out in the community talking to people. And I am a grassroots candidate who I don't have $1 million in the bank, but I'm speaking to people every single day, listening to them. I want to empower people. I want to make sure that they get involved in local politics. So as county commissioner, number one, I'll fight to stop the overdevelopment of apartment complexes. No more major apartment complexes. I'm opposed to the apartments like the ones next to the West Kendall Baptist Hospital. That's going to cause traffic congestion. I want to cut property taxes and lower property insurance costs, combat corruption, and I can do it. I've been endorsed by the Sierra Club, Kennel Federation, Save LGBT, and so many other organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Brian Paz Hernandez. I don't think Commissioner Gonzalez has been able to log back on. If he does before the forum is over, we will pass him the mic so that he can also have his minute and a half for closing remarks. But while we wait for that, we'll start sharing our goodbyes and thank yous with you all who have joined us today in this conversation. What we hope you have gathered from this space and from the forums that have happened throughout the last several weeks is a better understanding of where each one of the candidates stand as they seek to serve you here in Miami-Dade County. The people get to decide and get to be able to take your vote into your own hands. We want to extend again our gratitude to you, Candidate Paz Hernandez, for your participation. Also to Commissioner Gonzalez for his participation and engagement with the questions of all of the folks who have asked throughout this process. It is you all engaging and being willing to share your views here transparently with our county, with our residents, and with all of us that makes Miami-Dade County the vibrant democracy that we all know and love. So please remember to exercise your right to vote in the upcoming primary elections. Your vote is what will shape the future of our community. And we want to remind you to go to votemiami.org to be able to access all of the information of this electoral cycle. With that, thank you all so much.